My parents used my inheritance to buy my stepsister her dream car. Luckily, it ruined their life. Story time. So my life was great when I was a kid. I had a mum and dad that loved me, and I wasn't spoiled, but I never really lacked anything. And overall, it was a very, very healthy childhood. Things turned around when I was 15. So my parents ended up getting a divorce, and by the time I was 17, my mum had already remarried. And in addition to a new stepfather that I didn't want, I got the stepsister that I didn't want either, and she was 14. Obviously call her Amy. And please trust me when I say this is the nicest way I'm going to say this. She is the biggest spoilt brat I have ever come across. I would rather die than be around that little devil. Giving brat. Was and still is one of the most manipulative people I have ever met. She will not stop until she gets what she wants. If there was a toy she wanted growing up, she would scream and cry until she got what she wanted. And then as soon as this got home, she just wouldn't play with it. She'd neglect it, she wouldn't play with it at all. It became very clear that she would just ask for things to prove that she could get them and I couldn't get them. Really knew how to push buttons, let me tell you that. I think as she got older, maybe she gets better. No, she actually just gets worse. Okay, so let's get into the recent events now. For her 18th birthday, she demanded that my parents buy her a new car. But she wouldn't settle for anything small, she wouldn't settle for anything used or secondhand. She wanted something big, something that says, I'm here. She just had to have the new BMW 430i convertible, which if you don't know what that is, it's quite expensive. And initially my parents were like, no, you're not having that, because they just couldn't afford it. But you know, I've got to give it to Amy. She just does not let things go. Just know that I don't like this eyeshadow look. She made their life a living hell until she got what she wanted. One day I wake up and this brand new BMW is sat in my parents' driveway. And let me tell you, I was bloody fuming. But to be honest, more than anything, I was just wondering how the hell my parents had afforded this. I hate this eyeshadow so much. Like, my family are by no means rich, and this car costs like over 60 grand, so not really too sure where we're getting this dollar from. So I decided to open the conversation and I asked my mum how she'd been able to afford this for my sister. And this poor woman just literally broke down in front of me. And that was when she told me that she had used my inheritance money to pay for the car. And this was when I decided that this would be the last time my parents were going to prioritise my sister over me. So I'm thinking, girlies, it's revenge time. So I get my sister and my mum and stepdad to come to a fancy little restaurant with me. For a fact, my sister wouldn't come unless we were going somewhere that was expensive. I literally hate this makeup so much. What am I doing? So we're at the restaurant. We're actually having quite a nice time for once. And then I decided that I wanted to speak to my parents and my sister all together about my inheritance. And as soon as I bring it up, Amy gets up and just leaves. Bye. So on the way home, my sister got into a really bad accident in her brand new BMW 430AB, whatever the bloody hell the car's called. The car was a write-off. And since the crash was my sister's fault, my parents, because they were paying for everything, had to pay thousands of pounds in premiums. And it's now been 3 years and my parents are still in debt. Wow, okay, that's makeup. I hate this makeup. So they're still in debt after they sold their house. My sister had to drop out of college, all like not in a good place, and my sister's fallen into some really unhealthy like habits, which I won't go too much into. And at this moment in time, I haven't spoken to them in years, nor do I intend to.
Am I the asshole for trying to help my girlfriend without hurting her feelings? I, 32 male, have been in a relationship with my girlfriend, 24 female, for almost 3 years now. When we first got together, she was pretty overweight and struggling with her self-esteem, depression, and anxiety. Over time, she started to work on herself, both physically and mentally. I've been incredibly proud of her progress and how far she's come. Lately, though, I noticed that she's been putting on some weight gain, and it's been affecting her mental health. She's mentioned feeling down about her body image, and her struggles with anxiety and depression have resurfaced. I genuinely care for her, and I don't want to see her suffer like this. I thought about talking it out, but knew it would just evolve into asking if I'm still attracted to her. And truthfully, I have lost some attraction over the last month or so, though she does still look amazing. for the most part. I thought it would be better to take some more subtle approaches. So I've started adding small amounts of sawdust to her food. The idea being it would help her feel fuller faster and encourage her to eat less without her knowing. I was trying to prevent her from falling back into her previous state of depression and anxiety. Unfortunately, my brother, 30 male, caught me in the act, and he was shocked and angry. He told me I was being manipulative and abusive.
Facts.
Which, okay, a little shady, maybe, but abusive is a serious stretch. Now my brother is giving me an ultimatum. He wants me to tell my girlfriend what I've been doing by the end of the week, or he'll tell her himself. He believes she deserves to know the truth. I think what I've been doing is enough to help her without causing her unnecessary pain by revealing what I've done. She's already lost a few pounds. I told him I would stop, and I believe that should be sufficient. I don't see the point of telling her and potentially destroying the progress she's made. My brother thinks I'm completely in the wrong and that my girlfriend deserves the truth, but I genuinely believe I was doing what I thought was best for her, and I don't see it as malicious. Am I really the jerk for trying to help my girlfriend in this way, or is my brother overreacting? Should I tell my girlfriend what I've been doing, or keep it to myself to spare her feelings? I need honest opinions here. Please keep in mind that telling her up front that she's put on weight could seriously set her back.
Am I the asshole for cutting off my husband's long hair because he cheated on me with my twin sister? Just a little backstory on the bitch that is my sister. Growing up, she resented the fact that she was a twin. She thought she wasn't special because there was somebody that looked just like her. Therefore, she would call me her mini-me, her replica, and her shadow. My parents would constantly tell her that she should appreciate me because we have a twin connection. Oh, but she hates having the twin connection. My sister was very popular and really into sports. Whereas I was also popular, but I was more into boys and writing songs and singing. She also hated me for the fact that boys preferred me, but she was always in sweaty gym clothes. Both ended up getting into relationships around the same time, except her boyfriend was a total dick and cheated on her. I actually helped her get out of that relationship, but of course she never said thank you. I, on the other hand, was proposed to by my boyfriend. She also hated this. Had 7 months to plan our wedding, and I knew I wanted to start an Instagram to document everything. 3 months into it, my Instagram blew up. And of course my sister hated this too. Started getting a bunch of hate comments. At first I didn't know what it was. It was weird. A few days later, I'm talking to a friend of mine, and she decides to tell me everything. My sister went ahead and created 5 fake accounts so she could bully me on Instagram. But of course, I didn't confront my sister. I felt bad for her because I knew that she was hurting. So I decided to give her a pass. Try and remember this part for later. My husband, on the other hand, I thought was a good guy. When we were boyfriend and girlfriend, we saw each other twice a week. But really, it was only because he wanted to do you know what. And I thought that meant he loved me. He would take me out to dinner and sometimes do special things, but it was always followed by a favor, if you know what I mean. I accepted that this is just how relationships are, and that I shouldn't be prudish about it. After we got married, my husband started changing, and my God, women say this so often. He got an amazing job. He was making around $500,000 a year. He bought us a beautiful new house 2 blocks away from my parents, and I loved this because I was close to my family. He also bought me a new car, and get this, he offered to pay for a boob job, which I said no to. This is when my husband decided that he wanted to become a model on Instagram. He started getting together with local photographers, and all he would basically do was upload thirst traps. Now, yes, my husband is pretty attractive. He's muscular, tall, and has really long blonde hair. Now, this long blonde hair is his safety blanket. He loves his long hair. He talks about his long hair all the time, so much so that I've come to hate it. But his Instagram was not growing, whereas mine was blowing up. And I knew that he began to envy me this. He started saying things like, "My gosh, your content isn't that good. My pictures are better than yours." But like a good wife, I never said anything. This is when he started changing even more. He was asking for 3 meals a day. He wanted me to do his laundry, and he basically wanted me to serve him hand and foot. Without telling me all these things, he just started asking me to do it. There was no conversation, it was just a thing now. And I accepted it. I thought, well, he bought the house, he pays for the cars and the bills, I should be grateful and just serve him hand and foot. And then I started noticing other things. Anytime we would go to my parents' house, he would prioritize hanging out with my sister. At first, I appreciated it because I wanted them to get along. They were always together laughing and playfully punching each other. I thought it was cute. But then I noticed something really strange. Then I noticed my sister grabbing him. And when I tell you my sister is anti-affection, she hates touching people. But the way she touched him just made me realize that something was going on. My stomach fell so far down my ass, I thought I was gonna fall out. I had to act right then and there. I notice his phone is on the kitchen counter and I grab it. I go to Instagram and guess what I find? He was DMing with one of my sister's fake accounts that she created to bully me. While I'm standing behind them, I start going through all the messages. They had agreed to meet at our house where they did disgusting things. The way they were speaking to each other was like that of a couple. Without thinking, I grab the kitchen scissors and I walk up to him. And I chop off as much hair as I could. Then show the messages to them and my parents. My parents started fighting with my sister and yelling at her. That's when she decided to deny everything. She said that I couldn't prove the Instagram account was hers. And since he never used her name in the messages. She can deny it. But my husband didn't. He fessed up to the whole thing. I made him go to her house and pack up a bag. He ended up getting his own apartment. I'm keeping the house. Sister kept denying it, but guess what? She went to live with him in the apartment. He doesn't want to give me a divorce. Instead, he came to my house and tried to forcefully kiss me. Told me he was kicking my sister out. What should I do?
My 37 male wife's 34 female sister, 29 female, tried to kiss me, and now my wife is spiraling. Help me. Originally posted the 17th of January, 2023. As the title says, my wife's sister made a pass at me at a recent family gathering, and I have no idea what to do. For context, I think my wife Jenna is absolutely gorgeous, but she has some really negative body image issues. This is in large part because of her sister, Mary, who is very conventionally attractive as opposed to Jenna's more unconventional, but in my opinion, striking beauty. Mary was a successful model until a couple of years ago and now works in the fashion industry. In our early days of dating, when I would tell Jenna that she's beautiful, she would always say, "Just wait until you see my sister." When I did finally meet her family, she would randomly press me for weeks to talk about her sister, whether I thought she was more attractive than her, etc. I always told her the truth. I think that Mary is attractive in a boring way, and I think that my wife is much more beautiful and interesting to look at. She wouldn't let it go until I confronted her about how uncomfortable it made me and asked her what was going on. This is when she told me that she has always had a chip on her shoulder about her looks because of being compared with her sister growing up. They fell into the classic smart one, pretty one dynamic their whole lives. She also said Mary had a habit of being flirty with all of her exes and warned me that it would happen to me eventually. She then started sobbing and begging me not to cheat on her with her sister, to which I forcefully said I would never cheat on her with anyone, let alone her sister. I've been crazy about my wife since day one, and there's literally no woman on earth who could come close to her. I honestly didn't believe her about the flirting at first. I assumed it was just an extension of her insecurity, but I was wrong. Whenever we get together with my wife's family, Mary always finds ways to touch me and make little innuendos, comments about me or my body. It's super uncomfortable for everyone, especially my wife, and I've called her out on it before. She'll cool it for a while, but eventually start doing it again. It's been 6 years of this, and every time it happens, my wife is upset for days, and I have to do a lot of reassuring. On to the current problem. A few days ago, we were at my mother-in-law's birthday party, and Mary asked me to help her grab some things from the garage. As soon as we walked into the garage, she turned and pressed me up against the door with her whole body and started trying to kiss me. I immediately pushed her off and asked her what the F she was doing. She started giggling and saying that she was just doing what we had both been thinking, and kept insisting, "You know you want to." I told her she was out of her mind and ran out of there. I went straight to my wife and told her that we were leaving. The whole ride home, she was asking me what was wrong. I wasn't sure whether to tell her because I knew how much it was going to hurt her, but also I thought Mary would probably try to spin it as me making a move on her, so I had to just say it. I told her everything, and she cried the whole way home. For the last several days, Mary has been calling and texting my wife doing exactly what I thought she would do. Even telling my wife that I said Mary was the hottest girl I've ever seen, which I had to assure my wife a million times that I did not and would never say, even though she believes my account of the situation. She's been a complete wreck the last several days. She's hardly eating. She pulls away from my touch when I try to hug her or just hold her hand. She says she feels hideous and disgusting, and I don't know what to do. This is the lowest I have ever seen her, and it hurts to see how much she's hurting. I have no idea what to do to help her heal from this. Reddit, what should I do? Before we discuss, a couple of comments. Commenter, all family gatherings that include Mary must now be non-attendable. Your wife knows what an awful woman her sister is, and hopefully the rest of the family does too. To be honest, your wife's sister is evil. You have reassured your wife of your love and faithfulness. Your wife is incredibly insecure about herself, so obviously a professional may be in order for her and yourself to talk to. You love your wife, so stand by her and be there to support her. Original OP, my in-laws definitely enable her behavior. She's the golden child. They brag about her constantly, even though my wife is literally a neuroscientist. Their mom was a pageant queen, and she was their dad's much younger trophy wife. Honestly, we may have to go no contact with all of them. I got a few requests for updates, so here it is. I realized that I have literally never had a chance to check in with myself after these things happened, and I've actually been holding a lot of frustration and resentment about it all. I've been harassed for years, and it has either been brushed off or it's been eclipsed by the impact it has on my wife. I don't blame her for it, but this has been a good lesson in me not burying my feelings for the sake of others, even for her. I also want to clarify a couple of things that came up. Several people asked about how my wife's family feels about all this, and I explained in a comment that her parents are toxic and treat Mary as the golden child, even though my wife is a freaking neuroscientist, amazingly talented musician, speaks 3 languages fluently and another 2 conversationally. My wife and her family are seriously the only people who don't seem to understand how exceptional she is. That sucks. I remember meeting one of my wife's family friends and talking to them about her research, and they said, "Oh wow, her parents just told us she works at a university." Whereas my parents literally introduce her as the family genius to everyone. It makes me so effing angry to think about how her asshole family has stolen away her shine her whole life. She's literally a Renaissance woman, but all they care about is looks and money. Why I would. Some folks ask me why I would ever put myself in a situation alone with Mary given everything that she's done. I have no good answers for that other than I never thought she would actually try and do anything. That possibility just didn't exist in my head. I realize now I should have seen this happen eventually, and that I should have been less concerned with keeping the peace and more concerned with shutting Mary's shit down before it escalated to this point. Hindsight is 2020. Anyway, onto the update. The night I posted, I told my wife that if she wanted to try to repair her relationship with her sister, I would respect that, but that I don't feel comfortable being around her for the foreseeable future. I said Mary has obviously been deeply jealous of my wife her whole life because she is a hollow, ugly person whose entire value has an expiration date, while my wife actually has substance. I said that I think her whole family is toxic and has done nothing but put her down her whole life, but that only she can decide whether she still wants them in her life. I also told my wife that while I don't blame her for her emotional reaction, her insecurity is something that she needs to work on for our relationship to be healthy. What Mary did was sexual assault, and she's been sexually harassing me for years, but I have consistently put aside my own feelings about this problem because of how it affects her, and that has prevented me from getting the support that I need too. I told her that her reaction only serves to punish herself and me for her sister's behavior, and there's no reason to give her that kind of power. I also told her something that a commenter said that really resonated with me. The only people who have ever considered her second best are her and her family. Everyone else sees her for who she really is. She was crying the whole time and agreed that she needed to go to therapy to work on her insecurity. We were able to find a therapist who specializes in body image / self-esteem issues to work on with her individually, and we're going to look for a couples therapist too. My wife sent a message to her parents and sister that explained exactly what happened and told them that she would reach out to them if she ever feels ready to repair their relationship. We blocked all of them everywhere, but Mary has of course been spamming my family and our friends with nonsense, claiming I attacked her, I'm a drug addict, I abused my wife, all kinds of bullshit that thankfully nobody believes. My wife is still down in the dumps, but I can see that things are getting a little better. She's eating and sleeping more, and she's cuddling with me in the mornings again, which is nice. Now I'm planning a surprise getaway for us this weekend. We're going to one of our favorite places, and I'm going to wine and dine her and try to make her feel like a goddamn queen, because she is one. I want to thank you all again for your help. You really helped me understand the severity of the problem, and again, thanks for helping me connect with my own feelings about all this. Y'all are the best. Comments, you are an absolute legend. She's found herself another genius who knows how to navigate life without infantile drama. I wish you both nothing but the absolute best. Original OP, the only genius thing I've ever done is marry her. I'm a pretty average dude, to be honest, so I have no idea how I snagged her. Sad to think her low self-esteem probably played a part, but I do work hard to be a good husband every day. This one says, hopefully final update. 1st of February, 2023. First, I want to say I've gotten so many questions about who Mary is, and I'm just not going to say it. Suffice to say that she's never been a household name famous, but she made a living solely on modeling for about a decade from what I understand. So she must have been popular enough that fashion people might know her. I really don't know how that whole world works, but in my opinion, it doesn't matter how many names you drop, you're not famous if you don't have a Wikipedia page. I also got lots of comments that mostly jokingly called me a simp, and I can't argue with that. I totally am a simp for my wife. She's the coolest. I hope you all find a love that makes you feel this way. Okay, I think that's it. Here's the actual update. My wife loved the getaway weekend. We had a blast, and by the end of it, she said she felt like herself again. For a few days after we got back, things were really quiet, so we were hopeful that Mary had finally given up, but I felt uneasy about it all. Many of you warned me that Mary would try to interfere with my work, and while I initially dismissed it, I figured I would reach out to my boss just in case. I've been working at the same company for almost 10 years, and she's heard me vent about Mary before, so I didn't have to explain too much. My boss just reassured me that she knows my real character and would let me know if Mary tried anything. She did it. As you predicted, Mary did try to contact my boss a couple of days later, and the following is a recounting of what my boss told me. Apparently, Mary said that I needed to be fired because I was a predator and claimed to have proof that I assaulted her. My boss said that was a very serious accusation to make and asked Mary to explain what proof she had. Mary claimed there was a camera that caught the whole incident, and my boss asked her to send the video. Then Mary got flustered and said the police had it, so my boss asked her to send a copy of the police report. Then Mary said it had a lot of private information in it, so my boss asked her to redact the private information and send it over. Then Mary said she didn't feel comfortable with that, and my boss told her that she could not take action against an employee based on word of mouth from a stranger. Then Mary shouted at her about victim blaming and hung up. Unfortunately, that was not the end of it. Last Wednesday, Mary somehow sent an email from my personal email account with a dick pic, not mine, obviously, to the entire office. My best guess is that I must have left my email logged in on one of my in-laws' devices. She's definitely not smart enough to actually hack me. And I know this is completely beside the point, but of course, she chose the weirdest looking dick I've ever seen. I played team sports my whole life. I've seen a lot of dicks, and this was something else. It's honestly kind of funny to think about Mary Googling gross penis or something and sifting through hundreds of images to find just the right one. I had to apologize to everyone on staff, and thankfully folks were surprisingly understanding. It's actually been kind of a nice bonding experience with my coworkers. I honestly didn't consider myself to be super well liked in the office, but it feels like everyone has been going out of their way to be kind to me, and it means a lot. Anyway, at this point it was clear we had to escalate things legally. I really wanted to avoid it, but she forced my hand. My wife and I have a lawyer friend who has helped us draft a cease and desist letter outlining her continued harassment and the material and emotional damage this is causing us. My wife then sent a message to Mary and my in-laws with a copy of the letter and made it very clear that we would pursue criminal and or civil proceedings if her harassment continued. My wife's mom then called her crying and begged her to just let it go and leave Mary alone. My wife calmly explained that Mary is the only person responsible for this whole situation and that their parents have always enabled her awful behavior. She also said something she later regretted, but I think was pretty badass. Mary is going to stick you two in a nursing home and steal your money the minute she has the chance, and you deserve it. After the way her mom reacted, my wife is firmly settled on cutting off her family completely. Nice job. This happened on Friday, and on Sunday, Mary's best frenemy, Anne, sent my brother a message on Facebook to say Mary is going to leave us alone and to please not sue her. I told my brother not to respond, then just sat and enjoyed the idea that Mary was out there somewhere freaking out about the potential of having to actually face the consequences of her actions. Must be such a strange feeling for her. Since then, we haven't heard a peep from the grapevine. Feels like things are finally starting to go back to normal. My wife is starting therapy next week, and we'll be starting couples therapy in a month or two. She wants to do some work on herself first. She's also taking a short leave from work to rest and recharge. I'm so proud of her for standing up for herself with her family and finally putting her mental health and well-being first. Thanks again for everyone who offered advice. This was a messy situation, but it definitely would have been messier without your help. My wife is prioritizing her wellness, and I am one proud simp. All right, we have one last update. 26th of August, 2023. Skipping ahead several months here. I forgot about this account completely until today. I logged in to see so many comments and messages asking for an update. It's honestly touching to see how many people care about this situation and want the best for me and my wife. This will be a brief update. I don't want to make this a regular thing. And the original situation has resolved itself enough that I am hopeful this will be the end of the saga. Mary and my in-laws have pretty much left us alone. My mother-in-law still tries to contact my wife every now and then, but she's made it clear to her family that if the first words out of their mouths aren't "I'm sorry," she isn't interested in a conversation. As you can see, the past 6 months have made my wife a badass. She has done some amazing work in therapy, and her confidence is growing all the time. It's not just with her family. She's more comfortable asserting herself at work, with strangers, with friends, etc. She's even stopped putting up with some of my shit. To be fair, that shit is stuff like my leaving socks everywhere around the house, but I'm seriously proud of her for telling me to cut it out. I'm becoming a more responsible and supportive partner because she's able to communicate her needs and expectations without feeling guilty about it, and I'm able to communicate things to her without intense emotions fully eclipsing the conversation. I didn't mention this in my earlier post, but my wife does struggle with rejection sensitivity even outside of her family. Often if I brought up something that I felt needed to change, her emotional reaction to feeling like she did something wrong would be really intense, and instead of dealing with the problem, it would become about regulating her emotions. Now my wife has some really good coping skills that allow her to talk about the problem without thinking she is the problem. And the biggest update, she's pregnant. We have a baby girl due in February. I'm shitting my pants with excitement. We're going to love her so much and teach her that she is more than her beauty. She's going to have happy parents who love each other and work through issues as a team. The toxic cycle will be broken. Jenna's family doesn't know, and she's not sure if or when she'll tell them. But if she does, there are going to be strong boundaries in place for how they can be a part of our daughter's life, and it'll start with family therapy. For now, she has one set of grandparents that'll go to the end of the earth for her, and that's more than enough. My family has been absolutely incredible in their support, and they are so excited for us. Things are looking better than they ever have. That's all, folks. Thanks again for your support on this wild journey. Captain Simp, over and out.
I overheard my wife saying that she's only with me because of my daughter. I, 40 male, have been married to my second wife, Kate, 37 female, for 2 years. I have a daughter, Rose, 12 female, with my late wife, Eve, who passed away 4 years ago. Kate and Eve went to the same college and have been good friends since then. Kate was set to be a bridesmaid at my wedding, but she had to drop out because she had a miscarriage. Eve and I were also there for her when her fiancé passed a year later. Kate has been in Rose's life from the beginning. She organized her baby shower and attended all the birthday parties. She babysat Rose at least once a month and gave Rose gifts every Christmas. The family basically considers her another aunt for Rose. Eve and I also met the 3 boyfriends she had, though they all broke up within a year. When Eve passed in an accident, Kate flew from another continent to console Rose and me, and then flew back at her own expense to continue her work. Once she got back, she told Rose and me that she was there for us 24/7 and to call her for anything. She dropped food for us, helped Rose with her extracurricular activities, and talked to me late into the nights when I was grieving. Kate is an attractive woman. A little over a year after Eve's passing, Kate asked me out. We already knew each other well, so there was no awkwardness. Our first time happened drunk, but the times after were greatly enjoyable. Kate was so fun and warm and loving, and Rose was so happy that we were together. When Kate said yes to my proposal, I thought my life was perfect. The wedding was beautiful with Rose as a ring bearer. She insisted. We didn't go on a honeymoon, as Kate said it was better to save the money and take a family vacation overseas with Rose. Kate paid for Rose to take classes of extracurricular activities that Rose was interested in from her own pocket as well. She was the perfect mother for Rose, but as a wife, after the 1 year mark, things changed a bit. After the wedding, Kate and I didn't sleep together as often, but I would say that we did a couple times a week. Then I was busy trying to obtain a promotion at work, so I didn't think much of it. But after a year, I would be lucky to have her once a week, with her always claiming to be tired. She also stopped doing anything specifically for me and would focus more on Rose. For example, she always asked Rose what she wanted for dinner, but never me. If it was my turn to cook dinner, however, she always made great efforts to check if there was anything Rose didn't like and if I could change it. She also never really cared for date nights and insisted it was better to spend time together as a family. Rose being unavailable because of her own plans was practically the only times I got to go on dates with Kate. A few days ago, I was supposed to be on an international call for my home office, but the call finished early and I was just reading quietly in there. I overheard Rose and Kate talking about whether Kate and I would have a child. Kate laughed and said no, as she and I had never really talked about it. Rose said that she would not mind a younger sibling, but this way was good as well, so Kate could just be her mom and not have to spend time looking after other kids. Kate said, "Darling, no matter what, you will always be my number one. You are my only reason for marrying your father." Rose laughed a little and they changed the subject. I know they could just be joking, but to me, it all made sense. Kate came on to me simply because I was Rose's father. Now that she has Rose as a daughter, I just ran out of use, I guess. Kate is willing to treat me with courtesy and maintain our relationship to save face, but nothing more. I love Kate. It's different than my love for Eve, but I could just see us growing old together and maybe a couple more kids. I keep telling myself that they were just joking around, but the fact that my wife could actually mean those words just makes me cold all over.
I'm gonna try absolutely everything in me not to have a fucking mentee bee right now. My Charlotte got everywhere, and Charlotte, this bitch, fucking crime scene. Like, I'm gonna use it. This is going to be how I bronze. Charlotte, what the fuck? Bad part about this all is, like, I'm still gonna ride or die for the product. Anyways, we're apartment hunting in LA today. If you didn't know I'm moving to LA, now you fucking know. I'm honestly really excited about it. Been here for a day already. I viewed one apartment yesterday. I was like, not my vibe. I'm actually so fucking excited to move. Like, I'm just really excited for the next chapter. This move, everyone's like, oh, what is your mom gonna do? Like, what is your mom gonna do? Bitch, I land yesterday in LA, not even in LA 30 minutes. I get a text. I'll put the screenshot on my Instagram story, but I get a text being like, my plan is to move where you are next year. Like, wait a minute. Like, I call her up. I'm like, oh, you're gonna like buy a home in California? She's like, no, I'm gonna live with you. Like, bitch, what? Like, you want to be roommates? And she's like, yeah, like, you just get an extra bedroom or two for me. Woman is so dead ass. Like, she's not kidding. Also sees nothing weird or wrong with it. She's just like, yeah, like, we'll just live together. Like, Mom, I'm a 24-year-old young woman. Like, I'm gonna be fucking, you know what I mean? Like, there's the little things that we have to think about. Never let her live with me, because as much as I love her dearly, we fight a lot. Really, like, imagine us as roommates. She would come in my room at like 4 a.m, being like, let's get on the treadmill, and like sad about something, and she was like, go get a banana, walk outside, like go do a jog or something. Like, it really would just be so horrid. Contemplating showing you guys the apartments I tour. Like, I'm like, are you even fucking interested in the apartments that I'm touring, or is that like something boring? Let me know what you think. I am so fucking excited for the LA chapter.
Am I in the wrong for pointing out to my wife that my mother will never be her parent and she needs to stop? My mom, 64, is polite and in general keeps distance away from my wife, 26. I know my wife has trouble with social interaction and they got off on a horrible start. My wife, I'm going to call her Lily, was in foster care and never had a parental figure, and she went hard into trying to become my mom's kid. I think it would have happened if my wife let the relationship grow naturally, but she didn't take any of the warnings and bulldozed what my mom wanted. A few examples: she kept calling her mum even after she was told multiple times by her to call her name. Lily would make her uncomfortable, especially when she would ask my mom very personal questions or go way too deep. I have also talked to her many times, but she doesn't stop. The family has taken their concerns with me also, and have also told her straight up to stop. The big turning point was when my mom and her daughters, my sisters, went to visit a deceased family member. It's tradition between the three of them. Well, Lily heard about it and went. It went very poorly, and my sisters dislike Lily now also. We're invited to events and are still in the family, but the women of the family keep their distance. There's a girls' trip around Christmas and she wasn't invited. This made my wife upset and she was ranting. I had enough when Lily said that she was her kid. I snapped and told her that my mother will never be her mom and she needs to stop. She ended up crying and now I feel guilty. I just don't know how to get it through to her head that she needs to stop. I've talked so many times with her and she's already in therapy.